Hi, this is Marina from Principia Tutors and Consultants. Today we're going to cover Sohcahtoa, which is something you need to know in order to solve for unknown sides and angles in right triangles. What we will be looking at is labeling right triangles. We're going to also talk about the three main trigonometric ratios, and then we're going to talk about how to find missing sides of a right triangle. First of all, let's just take a look at an average looking right triangle. We're specifically talking about right triangles in this video because we cannot use the trig ratios for triangles that are not right triangles. So make sure that you're working with a right triangle first. So we have three sides, and then we have an angle that we call theta, and then we have our right triangle here on the side. The longest side of our triangle is going to be called the hypotenuse. Then we have our opposite side, which is the side that is opposite to our theta. In this case, it's going to be this one over here. And finally, we have our adjacent side, which is the side that is left. Also, it is a side that is touching our angle. So our angle theta is always going to be touching the hypotenuse and our adjacent side. Now you have some time to practice. So pause the video now and label the three sides of this right triangle. Okay, so our longest side would be our hypotenuse. Then the side that is opposite to our angle theta is the opposite side. And the side that is left over would be our adjacent. Okay, so from the beginning, I was telling you that we were going to talk about Sohcahtoa, and I haven't really mentioned what it means yet. So I want to address that question. What exactly is Sohcahtoa? Well, it is a mnemonic device that we use to remember the three main trig ratios, and we'll talk about that specifically in the next slide. But for now, I want you to take out your calculator and try to find the three main trigonometric functions. And you will find that you have three buttons, one that says sine, one that says cos, and one that says tan. So you'll see we have sine, cosine, and tangent. These are our three main trigonometric functions. I also want to make a note that you can have your calculator in degrees or radians, but in this case, in this video, we're going to use degrees. So make sure to go to your calculator, click on the mode button, and change to degrees if it's not already in degrees. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the three trig ratios. We have sine, cosine, and tangent, and we also have this Sohcahtoa situation that we still don't know why it's useful. Well, we're going to figure out right now. So if we look at the first word, so, this is going to tell us that the first spot is an S, second spot is an O, third spot is an H. The S is standing for sine. So we're taking the sine of an angle theta. And then we have an O and an H. The O is the opposite side, and the H is for hypotenuse. So basically what SO is telling us is that the sine of an angle theta is equal to the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. Okay, let's take a look at CA. So we have C, A, and H. So put a C here, an A up here, and an H here. So we have that the cosine over angle is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Finally, we have tangent, TOA, which is TOA, so T, O, and A. So we're going to have that the tangent of our theta is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. Okay, so this is it. These are the three main trigonometric ratios, and you don't really need to memorize all of this. It looks like a lot. The only thing that you have to memorize is Sohcahtoa. Once you have this in your mind, you can figure out the rest, just like we did right now. Now we're going to try to use this Sohcahtoa for something useful. So in this case, we have a right triangle over here, and we're trying to find x. And we have that this side is 3 centimeters, and then we have that an angle is 20 degrees. Well, our first step is to label the sides. So in this triangle, this side 3 centimeters would be the hypotenuse, and the x would be our opposite. The next step is to identify the ratio we need. Over here on the left, we have the three trig ratio SOHCAHtoa, And we have to ask ourselves which of these three has an O and an H in the ratio. And you'll notice that the only one that has O and H in the ratio is sine. So then this is how we know that we have to use sine for this specific problem. Okay, so we have sine of theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Now we're going to substitute our O and our H and our theta. Once we substituted, we're trying to find x. So in this case, I would multiply 3 on both sides to get rid of the 3 on the right. And we would end up with the following expression, that x equals 3 times sine of 20 degrees. And if you plug this into your calculator, you will find that the answer is about 1.03 centimeters. So that's it. This is our answer. That would be what x is equal to. Now you'll have a little bit of time to do an example on your own. So pause the video now, give yourself a few minutes, and try to find x. Let's follow the steps as we did before. So the first step is to label the sides. In this case, this side over here would be our opposite, and this side here would be our adjacent. Then we need to identify the ratio we need, and we ask ourselves which of these three ratios has an A and an O. Notice that sine doesn't work because it doesn't have an A. Cosine doesn't work because we don't have hypotenuse. So the only one that works in this case is tan. Okay, so we have that tangent of our theta is going to be equal to the opposite over adjacent. We can substitute all of our values in now and get this expression here. We're trying to solve for x, so we should probably do some algebra before we get to our solution. I would multiply x on both sides to get rid of this x in my denominator. Okay, so the x cancels, and now we have that x tangent of 45 degrees is equal to 8. Now we should probably get rid of this tangent, so I'm going to divide both sides by tan of 45. So the tangents on the left cancel, and we end up with x equals 8 over tangent of 45. And if we plug this into our calculator, we will see that x is equal to 8 inches in this case. So this is our answer, 8 inches, x is equal to 8 inches. And some of you might be thinking, well, this is a special type of triangle. This is a 90, 45, 45 triangle. So this is what we know about this specific type of triangle. When you have a 90 degree and then 45 degree and 45 degree triangle, then we know that both of the legs are going to be equal to each other. So if one of the legs is equal to x, then the other one's length is also going to be equal to x. We also know that the hypotenuse is going to be equal to square root of 2 times the length of each leg. So if we go back to our question, you don't even need to go through all the trig to conclude that x is going to be equal to 8 inches, because you know that both of the legs have to be equal to each other in length. So there's two ways to get to the answer. One is a lot shorter than the other one. And if the question is not asking you to solve in a specific way, like using trig, then you can just easily see that x is going to be equal to 8. Well, I hope this was helpful, and good luck studying trig.